Welcome home to The Last Video Store, a celebration of cinema, movies, films, and the motion pictures you will discover and love for the rest of your life. I am your host, Alexei Toliopoulos, and it is my duty as the sole clerk manning the counter here to act as guide and guardian of all of the films ever made that sit here on our shelves of our infinite archive. Typically, I'm joined by one guest who will talk to me about some of their favorite films ever made in the style of an old school video store rental combo, plus a staff pick for me based on their taste. But today is a little bit different and a little bit special because we are celebrating the release of the decade's most exciting action film spectacle, Furiosa, a MAD MAX saga. But today, witness me as I'm joined by two dream guests that have earned their rightful place in cinematic Valhalla forever and ever. I am speaking to the stars of Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, Chris Hemsworth, and Anya Taylor-Joy, Furiosa herself. Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth achieve cinematic greatness with Furiosa. Formidable forces pitted against each other. I think their performances in Furiosa are their best to date for both of them. Right before the interview started, they both complimented my outfit, saying the color coordination between all three of us matched perfectly. And I said, get me in that group chat and we'll continue matching for the rest of the press tour. And we pick up right there. Can't wait to be on the group chat for the next one.
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll check in tonight. See what we're wearing tomorrow.
Hey, Chris.
Hey guys, I just keep messaging non-stop.
What are you guys wearing?
Okay, I'm weird. So I'm Alexei Toliopoulos from the Batuta Advocate and the new podcast Last Video Store. I absolutely love this film. I think it's incredible. You guys are amazing in it. I'd love to kind of kick things off by talking about, you guys have such a diverse career in cinema, a broad swath of working with great filmmakers, different scale of films. What makes working with the good Dr. George on a film of this scale unique?
The good doctor.
The good Dr. George, he is indeed.
I think he's proven himself so much that he can take massive swings, and that's really, really cool to be a part of. Also, he's just the gentlest, sweetest man that comes up with the most demented things, and that thrills me. Yeah. I love being going into his brain, out weirding him. That makes me very, very pleased.
Wow, out weirding him.
Oh, that's the best. If I suggest something and he's like, "You're depraved, Anya," I'm like,
yeah. Yeah, he was like, "Oh, Anya, that's so shocking." I'm
that's
like,
so shocking.
You just tore my nipples out in the last scene, George.
Exactly. What are you talking about? That's a bit violent. I was like,
what?
Well, Chris, I want to talk to you about the physicality of your character because I think it's so fascinating, this kind of journey that you take him on of kind of presenting this projection of confidence that kind of evolves or devolves as the character goes on. Can you talk about finding that physicality and embodying it?
Yeah, a lot of it was, because the film takes place over 15 years, and so it was a big discussion with George and I about, well, how was he at the beginning versus the end, and that the decline in his sort of physicality and his emotional intellect, his sort of cognitive kind of clarity, they wanted there to be kind of it all to be kind of fractured and broken and demented by the end of the film. And that, you don't often get the opportunity to do that. And the script had so many places where we could sort of present, this proud, nomadic warrior at the beginning of the film. I have all the answers, I can pull you from this world of suffering into, better times. And then, I'm not going to ruin it, but it's, it doesn't necessarily work out. But
what do you mean?
What do you mean? You'll have to see the movie.
Okay, that's a good sell.
Did I do a Mark Ruffalo?
No, you killed it. Absolutely
Anya,
no spoiler, yes.
I want to talk to you about, like, you're playing a character that has already been established. Can you tell me about bringing yourself to that? And did you talk to Charlize before or after kind of constructing your own version of Furiosa?
I didn't talk to her before because I knew how much she cared about her. And I think that if I had been in her position, I would have wanted the same thing. I
Yeah.
fell in love with Furiosa through Charlize. I think she's one of the greatest to ever do it. And so I wanted to be respectful of that. But also I think it's such an entirely different script, and what was going to be needed from me was something very different. You know, when you meet her in Fury Road, she's lived a lot of life at that point, and I think this Furiosa, especially at the beginning, she's just all drive. It's all just, this is my plan, this is how I'm going to escape this is how I'm going to figure this out, this is how I'm going to honor my promise. So I was really excited to finish it and then reach out to Charlize, and she's been nothing but absolutely wonderful, and I'm so grateful for her.
And there's so much of this character which is internal, like this internal struggle, and so much of your performance has to come out through like externalizing those internal feelings through body language. Can you talk about the physicality of that as well?
Yeah, it was slightly terrifying because George had a very specific image of what he wanted. We called it her war mask, how he wanted Furiosa to hold her face. And he was like, you have to trust me, it all lives in your eyes. But obviously as a performer, that's so scary because I'm used to telegraphing everything with, you know, all of my face. But I think what that meant was that when I did have moments where I could break out of it, you really felt it because you realized that, like, of course, this character's being so suppressed. Like, there's no room for any kind of weakness. But it was fun also knowing where I was going. It was fun to be able to, like, the first time that I walked out as a Furiosa that people recognized more, all the crew that had done Fury Road were like, I was like, yes.
You were discussing something, you were talking about volcanoes yesterday. I think there was something incredibly volcanic about the performance where it was just underneath the surface, and I think there's very few people on the planet that can that have such a well of emotion and such depth with just a look, you know, and it was incredibly intimidating and hypnotic to stop. The opposite at times. I was like, what's my line again?
Thank you, Ben.
I guess there's little bits of lava spurting out, you know, that's kind of like that, those little
And
great
also
moments.
by the time, again, like no spoilers, but by the time we really get cranking, you're like, oh, here we go. Okay, like we've pushed it too far, she's about to erupt.
Well, the climax of the film, it's so interesting because, you know, so much of this film is hugely action-based. But climax of that film is just you two in this two-handed together. Can you talk about kind of building and developing that escalating emotional tension?
It was nerve-wracking, wasn't it? And even just the fact that it was one of the last things that we shot. And so we had a good sort of 4 or 5 months to discuss it. You know, the very first rehearsal we had was mostly about that scene, and that was the sort of where we were headed. That was a kind of North Star. And I was really nervous about it. You know, there were many different discussions, many different ways it could have gone. And I'm really thankful that we had developed a friendship and a trust and a bond by the time we got there to explore and kind of go, right, is this working or not? Because if that had been week 1, week 2, like, it would have been a tricky thing to
I'm only laughing because I'm remembering like the intensity and the violence, and then like it would be cut and I'd be like, are you okay? Can I help? Do you need water? He's like, Anya, I'm fine. I'm like, I feel really bad.
I was like, stay in it, it's good.
Stay in it.
Hate me.
Yeah, it was really, really great because we did it over 3 days, and I think going again and again and again, like it's probably one of the most intense scenes I've ever done in that way. And when we finished it, we were like, oh, okay, we can let this go.
Yeah. Did you feel like you captured it all? Like,
yeah, we did a lot of different types of takes. Like I think when we first went in there, I was like, George, you have to just let me explode for a couple, and then you can bring me back.
Raining
but
it
you
down.
have to just let me like go. And Chris, being the absolute sweetheart that he is, he's like, yeah, it's been a really long movie, like go for it.
How about it? Let's go.
How about it?
can I ask you both, how's this experience working Furiosa changed you as artists, as actors?
Oh, massively.
A lot of ways, yeah. Just the importance, and I think because I've run from project to project over the years and probably not given enough, I haven't had the luxury to rehearse as much and have as much prep time. But to something George insisted on, and thankfully, because it makes such a difference, you know. And I know it sounds like a really obvious thing to say, but I kind of took it for granted. But the amount of conversations and collaboration and endless kind of allowance for different interpretations and different things to influence the character. And what if we did this? What if this? That for me, I want to take to my next film, and the sense of sort of playfulness. You know, it's sort of breaking the rules a little bit and not kind of trying to fit into a box. Just I don't know, risk taking. It sounds like a very sort of naff thing to say, but it's like, you know, not always trying to hit the target. Just sort of going, no, let's see what happens, and kind of let it run wild. I love that freedom.
Yeah. Is that the same for you?
No, for me, it was more than anybody else. George is almost like a university professor. If you believe in something, you have to present a thesis, and it better be a good one. Like, that's what it has to be. And so, especially with someone, and he's completely right in this, he's been living with this world and with these characters for decades. So if you're going to change something, or if you believe like very strongly in something, you have to be able to argue it for a long time. And so I think it's made me very like convicted in some of the choices, because it was so wonderful to be able to be like, no, this is why I believe in this, and this is why I think it has to be there. And George is such a receptive person to listen to it, and so I think that's probably made me stronger in that.
That's so exciting to hear. Far out. Can I ask as well, you're surrounded by like this great cast of like Aussie character actors that are like not afraid of going big, like Lockie Hume, Angus Sampson, the great David Collins from the Umbilical Brothers. Yeah. Can you talk about working with that crew, those guys? Did they inspire new things from you?
Those guys were amazing, weren't they? Yeah. They were such a eclectic mix of people from different walks of life. Some people who've been in the industry for years, some people very new to the space, but everybody just willing and able to give whatever they had, because there was such gratitude to be on that set. It's like, you know, Angus Sampson, after my first day of shooting, I had a lot of dialogue and I was a bit kind of nervous, and he grabbed me and said, "Chris, you're in a bloody Mad Max movie." I was like, "Hey, you're right." And he goes, "You're in a bloody Mad Max movie." I'm like, "Okay, you're right." I go, "Whoa, let's do this." And I was like, go.
Yeah.
That's great.
It was a wonderful cast of characters, literally.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Well, just quickly before I wrap things up, one last thing. The show that host is all about like evoking that nostalgia of film discovery, of going to the video store and finding films that you love for the rest of your lives. Do you have any memories of like going to the video store and like discovering films that you love?
Yeah, like the first place I was allowed to go to by myself was Blockbuster, and I could take my scooter and I could pick a movie, and I felt very grown up. And I remember picking up My Girl, thinking that it would be like a film for children.
So sad.
And then my mum comes home and I'm just like, he doesn't have his glasses. Like, I was screwed for weeks. It was really, really bad.
What were we going to, is it Video 10,000? Remember that place? And getting 5 for 5 weekly rentals for $5.
What a great combo.
And it was like, you'd literally spend 5 hours in there too. And my parents used to say, "Oh my God, hurry up. What about this? You know, is it Kickboxer? Is it Total Recall? Is it Point Break?"
Three Ninjas.
It was all just like this kind of crazy action adventure films that me and my brothers would then run out in the backyard and kind of replicate. My brother actually got left in a video store once.
Really?
And
Did he have a
I'm
good
going to tell
time?
this story, it's hilarious. So my mum, no, listen to this. So my mum.
Sorry, Mum.
My mum had him, he was in the back seat asleep, it was like probably 3 or 4.
Yeah.
She pulls up the video store, you know, leaves the car running, runs in, drops the videos off, you know, quickly grabs the thing of milk, jumps back into the car and drives home, gets home, walks inside and leaves him asleep in the car. When he was asleep, just wakes up, you know, gets a phone call. They'd say hello, and they're like, "Yeah, Mr. Hemsworth, we have your son here." And she's like, "Oh my God."
Wait,
it's like,
did she drop off the kid and not the videos?
No, I dropped the video off, and Liam had gotten out of the car while she was doing that, walked in and just, you know, got himself a packet of chips.
That's not her fault.
So she turned up and he had like a packet of chips and some Maltesers and sitting on the video store bench. And
trade him in, knock off a few bucks for those late fees.
Yeah, he needed toughening up. You know, that was a test. That's a rite of passage. We had to do it to Anya when she first got to Australia.
Yeah, they had to leave me
left
somewhere.
Her in the video store
Wow,
for 2
you
days.
have to find a video store. Wow, okay.
Now she has a passport.
No, you guys left me in the desert. Literally just, this is Sparta.
Well, thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
man.
you.
Nice to meet you.
The last video store.
And you may have noticed as we were leaving that interview that they both reached out and I shook both their hands. So I know that we are friends forever. So thank you, Anya. Thank you, Chris, for your support and your continued friendship. And thank you for watching this video as well, guys. I know that you're out there watching it. I really appreciate it. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is in cinemas now. Witness it and enter cinematic Valhalla for yourself. My thanks and sincere gratitude to Universal Pictures Australia for setting up these chats with Dr. George Miller, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Chris Hemsworth. Thank you very much. Check out the last video store here or in podcast form wherever you get your podcasts. I'm talking Spotify, I'm talking Apple Podcasts. For more stuff, pick recommendations from me and chat with film lovers such as Angela White, the Meryl Streep of pornography, Saltburn choreographer Polly Bennett, David Dastmalchian and the directors of Late Night with the Devil, Zachary Ruane from Auntie Donna, Of an Age filmmaker Goran Stileski, Tony Armstrong, who everybody freaking loves, and one of Australia's great storytellers, country music icon Troy Cassar-Daley. And there are even more than that. There and coming soon on the last video store.